Hey everybody, welcome back to Row Country and welcome if you are new. Today we're making a Dollar Tree DIY eek sign decor, and guys, it lights up. So here are the items that you're going to need. You're going to of course need an eek sign and some of that tulle. You'll need some paint in these colors, also some batteries for our light kit. You're going to need a light kit. You're also going to need some of this multifunctional strap, hot glue and glue sticks, a glue gun, and then any sort of white glue or Mod Podge and some glitter. And that's really everything that you're going to need. Now I'm going to jump right in. The first thing I'm going to do is test my lights. I've never ever picked up a bad set of lights from the Dollar Tree, but I have learned a lesson in the past. You definitely want to check your lights before you attach them to a finished project. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is bring in all of the items that I'm going to actually be painting black. Even though you'll never see the underside of this little tray, I'm going to paint the entire thing inside and out, as well as our eek sign. And the hanger on this is super easy to remove. I just slipped a pair of tweezers underneath the little staples and they came right out. So you'll want to do all of that for your prep work on this. Now we're going to start with the black paint. Even though you won't see this from underneath how we're going to attach it, if you were giving this as a gift, I would recommend giving your light kit box a coat of this black paint. And then we're also going to give the wire part of these lights a coat of black paint as well. Hindsight being what it is, I probably would have gone with 2 to 3 coats, you know, just layered coats of black over the wire. You definitely want to avoid the lights themselves, but give this a good coating to your liking. And then of course you'll want to sit that aside to dry. Now, once you get all of the paint onto the lights, you want to set that aside to dry. And then we're going to bring in this little Dollar Tree tray that I also picked up at Dollar Tree for $1. What I am using is like a sponge brush, little dauber type of brush that you would use if you were stenciling. I found that it really puts on this matte black apple barrel paint that I picked up at Walmart really well. What I really like about it is that it gives the illusion of a stain versus a paint job. So if you're wanting something that's a little more opaque, you'll want to come back and give this a second or even third coat. Being acrylic paint, it's sort of soaked into this wooden tray rather than having the paint lay on top like chalk paint would. And that's what this one coat looks like when it is finished. I really like the finish on it. Now the next thing I'm going to bring in, of course, is this eek sign, and I'm going to use a fine brush to get into the nooks and crannies of this little sign before I turn it over, and then give the front and the back of this a really nice coat, just one coat again of the apple barrel black paint in a matte finish. And I have to say, I'm really pleased with how well that little sign took that paint. So now I'm bringing in some spiders that I picked up at Dollar Tree. These larger ones came in a pack of 2. They're already black and sort of glittered, but it doesn't come off in your fingers, so it's like part of the finish on it. What I want it to do though is match that smaller spider. So the first step in that is to take some of the apple barrel pumpkin colored matte finish paint from Walmart and a finer brush, I'll say, and I'll go ahead and just paint parts of this larger spider in this orange color so that it mimics the smaller spider. This is so easy to customize, guys, and you could do this in any color that you wanted to use, however your decor might go. So if maybe orange and black is not your thing, maybe you could definitely go with like some of the neon green or even the purples for Halloween. Okay guys, and just like that, the first part of customizing this spider to match the others is complete. We'll go ahead and set that aside so that that orange paint will dry. Now we're going to bring in Mod Podge. And guys, I will confess, I am not the, a perfect Mod Podge person out there in the crafting world. I'm actually still learning to use Mod Podge, and to be honest with you, I'm not a super fan of it, but I wanted to use it with this glittered tool from the Dollar Tree on this sign and also on the little tray. So in order to get started, all I did was measure out just by eyesight how much tool I would need, and then I'm going to take the Mod Podge and I'm going to go over just the front facing part of this sign. We're not going in the nooks and crannies, we're not going to wrap it around. All we're doing is putting Mod Podge down on the front facing part of this. And when I got done doing the largest E, I'll take this glittered tool and lay it right on top of everything that I just covered. To do that, it's just simply laying it down, making sure that the tool is going to cover the entire sign when it's all Mod Podged. And then I'm using my fingers sort of in the middle of those little spider webs that are on the tool and just pushing down into the Mod Podge. Once I was satisfied that it was going to stay in place, I then folded it back on itself again and completed Mod Podging the front facing part of the sign. And I completed the same steps as before. I laid it back over, used my fingertips, and just sort of made sure that everything was lined up, that there were no wrinkles. And I just used my hands, the back of my hand. You'll see there, anything you can do to make sure that the tool is sticking to the sign and not sticking to your fingers, that's what you would want to do. And then I came back, and this is where I got a little heavy-handed. I would recommend not putting on as much Mod Podge on the top as you see me doing here. I would probably go a lighter coat. However, it doesn't matter in the end because I did still get the effect that I wanted out of this. So just learn from my mistakes. I will say that it took a lot longer for the Mod Podge to dry, and so that meant that it took longer for me to complete the project. So maybe not go as heavy-handed, but you want to do the same thing. You want to cover all the front-facing part of the sign with the Mod Podge to seal it in, but to also give you an edge that when you cut this away, all the excess tool from this sign, that nothing frays on you. And so there's my heavy-handed Mod Podging on the Eek sign. We're going to set that aside, and guys, it did take a while to dry. The next thing I'm going to do is cover the top of this little tray from the Dollar Tree in the same manner, just by eyesight, figuring out how much I needed. And then I'm going to use the same technique to Mod Podge the tool to the very top of this, not on the sides, just on the top. And of course, by the top, what I mean is it would actually be the bottom of the tray if you were using the tray in its intended manner, but I'm using it as a riser. So this is actually turned over upside down, and it's now referred to as the top of this tray. Again, guys, a little heavy-handed, but just put it aside and let it dry. While I have the Mod Podge out, I'm now going to come back to this little spider, or the larger spider, that I'm trying to match the smaller one. And I'm going to put Mod Podge all over where I painted in the orange color, so that I will have a really good base then to bring in some glitter. Just some orange glitter that I picked up at Dollar Tree. You can find it in the Crafter's Square section, and it actually comes with other colors that are more geared towards fall. But the orange and the glitter that I picked up at Dollar Tree is so pretty, and I think it's a great deal. So just go ahead and cover up all of the parts where you painted orange, and then come back in and go ahead and glitter him up, and he's going to look gorgeous when he's done. And there you go, guys. I think we've got a pretty good match on those spiders. So here is what it looks like when you are done with the Mod Podge and you've let it sit and dry. It is a matte finish Mod Podge that I used. If you use gloss, it's going to be a little more shiny. Now what you want to do at this point is go ahead and cut away all the excess tulle away from this box. What I found was first going in with scissors and then coming back with an X-Acto knife to get as close as possible to this box was the best way to handle the excess on this piece. Now, of course, if you get a little too close and you nick your box, you can go ahead and just bring in some more black paint and touch up those parts where you may have cut too close or cut too much off. I promise you, no one will know the difference. And so now we're going to repeat those same steps on this eek sign. And so again, I use some fine detailed scissors to get into some of those nooks and crannies on this sign. And I used the larger scissors to cut away as much as I possibly could. Then I did use an X-Acto knife to come into the other parts that are difficult to get scissors into. And I can tell you, by finishing with the Mod Podge the way that I did, that tool became extremely stiff. So it was really easy just to take my X-Acto knife, as you see me doing here, and using the blade on that to cut as close as I could to the sign to remove the excess tool. I didn't want the tool to just cover the sign and be left there. I really wanted the word eek to be prominent with this piece, and so removing the excess tool became super easy after the Mod Podge had completely dried for me. And so here you go, guys. This is what it looks like when it's completely cut away and trimmed up, and it's so pretty. I just love how it glitters. The next part we're going to do is we're going to turn over that tray in the manner in which you would probably use a tray, and I'm going to use some of this hook and loop mounting pieces from the Dollar Tree. They can be cut into little squares, and we're going to attach that to the battery pack on the lights, and then also to the inside lip of this tray. And then we're taking the lights themselves and we're going through the handle of the tray so that we can use it on the top part. You'll see here what I'm talking about in a minute. Now, everybody, just, you know, a moment of silence for my glue gun. My Shore Bonder glue gun has bit the dust. I was getting ready to start gluing this piece and hadn't realized that it had been turned off, and I pulled it and it broke. So what you don't see me doing here is a lot of gluing, and what I was able to glue, I wasn't able to control how much glue was coming out. So take your time, but you want to apply the glue to the bottom of the K. as you see here, and go ahead and attach it to the tray. Now, you can put this onto the left side or the right side or smack dab in the middle. How you do that is up to you. How I got the spider to stay was I used a chenille stem. I, loaded up the glue into the bottom part of the spider, and then the other part of that chenille stem I applied to the top of the box. After that, I started wrapping the lights. So you can see here that these lights, they do wrap around from the K, and they're coming down around this spider. And I really took my time and did a lot of, weaving in and out between the spider's legs to make sure that he was nice and lit up with these lights from the Dollar Tree. And after that, I just really finished wrapping around the eek sign. So you can see here that the lights go round and round and round. However you want to do that is up to you. And again, more black paint would have been better, I think. The next thing I did was take some more of those spiders and added some hot glue, and I just used 4 of them to sort of mount them onto this eek sign to give them a really scary look, guys. But that is how it turned out, and I really, really hope that you like it. If you did like today's video, please consider giving me a thumbs up. It does help the channel. This is my Dollar Tree DIY Eek sign decor. It lights up, guys. While you're here, go ahead and subscribe if you're not already, and go ahead and watch another video. I'll see you in my next one, and I'm bringing another Halloween DIY soon. Until then, bye.